House of the Dragon Season 3 is sadly over. While it took a huge diversion from the books, I don't think it means that was a bad season by any means. Today I'll be going from episode to episode one by one, assessing whether it was a good, great, mid, or bad episode. While House of the Dragon Season 3 wasn't as good as Season 1, we can all agree that it wasn't as fucking trash as Season 2 was. So, the question needs to be asked, was House of the Dragon Season 3 good? I'll start with episode 4. No, I'm just kidding. I'll start with episode 1, Salt and Sea, Fire and Blood. This episode sets the scene for the season. Fire and Blood with the Battle of the Gullet and the Battle of the Red Fork. The Battle of the Red Fork is a nice ending to a battle. Get to see the aftermath, calm, and the Winter Wolves killing Jason Lannister is just really funny and a great introduction to the Winter Wolves as a whole. The Aegon and Larys part in this episode is okay at best during this episode, and it's, I think, the weakest part of the episode. Having them captured again is just anticlimactic, and I think it would have been better for Aegon to immediately head for Rook's Rest. However, this episode has probably the best battle in the whole series to this point, being the Battle of the Gullet. The Gullet is bloody, deadly, and pure chaos with fighting everywhere, and it's true to how the Gullet is in the books. Even despite the differences from the books, it still holds up. Jason's motivations for going to the Battle of the Gullet remains the same despite Viserys not being there in the show. Viserys wants to protect his family, or in this case, Rhaenyra. And Jace getting hooked once was brilliant, as it shows the huge danger Jace and Baela have gotten themselves into, and if something goes wrong, Jace or Baela could die very easily. Then Rhaena shows up on Sheepstealer and fucks everything up. Rhaena being on Sheepstealer really just sucks, but it works for this battle. Rhaena getting Jace killed is shocking, as now Jace and Baela have to worry about the other dragon, but then Jace and Vermex get hooked, and Jace's death is a top 5 moment of the season, and it's really sad, slow, and tragic. When Vermex dies, you feel really sad, but then the arrow strikes Jace, and Jace has that moment of realization. It's probably on screen right now, and he realizes he's going to die, and his face just says it all. I don't want to die. However, this episode's major bad point is the Aemond and Alicent kiss. This is a disgrace and disgusting and should have never been thought of. It's fucking bullshit. And the episode is great, and according to Series Graph, the 5th best episode of the whole show. A great episode and it's a really great start to the season, and it really redeems everyone who hated on season 2, which is basically everyone. Episode 2, Queen's Landing. And for all episode 1 was great, Queen's Landing, in my opinion, does even better, giving us another battle, and it will go down as what House of the Dragon Season 3 is remembered for. Death, but also moments long awaited, and diversions from the books. This episode summarizes the season. Starting with Rhaenyra's reaction to Jace's death, it's heartbreaking and devastating. Emma D'Arcy, I think, really deserves an award for her performance this season, but especially in this episode. The writers did a good job for once, in showing that Rhaenyra has been broken, is now on a path of tyranny, and is becoming what she sought to destroy. But I think Daemon really shines as the best character of this episode. Daemon getting Rhaenyra to keep going is perfect, and it's Daemon that wins Rhaenyra the crown. Daemon is super loyal without full, while still being true to his character. And Daemon gets Husband of the Year, and Matt Smith did an amazing job in this episode as well. Rhaenyra and Daemon fighting their way through King's Landing. I loved it. I love episode 1 as it's what the whole show references. The events of the whole show is referenced here, as Daemon gives the gold cloaks their gold cloaks, and they repay him here. They repay Daemon and give Daemon the chance to give Rhaenyra the crown. And Rhaenyra sitting on the throne is a forever iconic scene, but Rhaenyra saying, "Bring Aegon the usurper to me," is the most iconic line of the show. This is House of the Dragon's version of "Bring me his head." It will be a moment talked about in Game of Thrones show's history forever. And Otto's execution is perfect. Rhaenyra not being able to kill him on the first try is really good and accurate, as Rhaenyra hasn't been trained as a sword before. Overall, another great episode that is in the top 5 House of the Dragon episodes. It's in a 3-way tie for second place, but overall, this episode really just summarizes what Season 3 is about. Now, Episode 3, to be honest, it's not as good as the first 2 episodes of the seasons, but it does hold up in its own right. The fake Daron plot is going to be what this episode is remembered for. Everyone expected this episode to be Daron Targaryen's introduction. However, the reveal at the end is like classic Game of Thrones. Nobody saw that one coming. The rest of the episode is mostly build up for Rhaenyra's descent into madness. We see the issues at hand while making Rhaenyra unstable. The Faith hate her as well, and Mysaria is constantly trying to win Rhaenyra the small folk, who will never like her. And Rhaenyra also has zero money. These are real problems, and she also has to pay for the sins of the past, as her actions of not having legitimate children with Laenor back in season 1 come to hurt her here, as she doesn't want to become the Queen of Bastards, and she will essentially become that if she legitimizes Alan and Adam as Valyrians. And it also makes her question if she should even be queen, is by the rights of her ascension, Baela should inherit Driftmark. And this causes a rift with Corlys, who is one of her few good advisors besides Daemon that she has. Overall, this is a good episode. Not as good as the first two, but still very respectable in its own right. Now I'm going to be talking about episodes 4 and 5 together because they suffer from the same strengths and weaknesses. Both episodes are very heavily focused on the Greens, which isn't the problem here despite the Greens mostly being villains. The problem stems from, one, Criston Cole's plot being dragged out. Criston Cole isn't the main focus of episode 4, however they don't do enough with him in that episode. They simply leave him at Harrenhal, and Criston Cole does nothing. And if they combined Criston's plot in episode 4 and 5, it overall benefits this season and they wouldn't have been dragging everything out so much. And episode 5 could have ended with Criston Cole's death in the Butcher's Ball, which is how it should have been and is a great ending for episode 5 that makes that episode a lot better. Instead, we get 2 episodes where the half of the episode is filler. However, all the stuff with Daron and Ormond is great. Daron is actually likable despite the really limited screen time we get. However, he is surrounded by an evil man. Ormond is portrayed as the new main villain of the season, and it works. He is such a menace and really carries these 2 episodes. Ormond reminds me of Tywin Lannister in my eyes. James Norton did such an amazing job as Ormond Hightower this season. And overall, Ormond becomes one of the biggest, if not the best villain of House of the Dragon. Helena's pregnancy is such a surprise, really, and it should be an interesting plot line, but it's really wasted. They only did it for shock value and to make people think we were getting Maelor, which we were not. And yeah, it went nowhere. And you can basically ignore that. And yeah, Daemon's plot in episode 4 and 5 is good and bad. I love how it's Daemon who causes Ulf to go on the path of betraying Rhaenyra, but in episode 4, the stuff with Rhaena, once again, great scene, but it goes literally nowhere. Episode 4 is a mid-episode, and I would say it's confidently the worst of the season. And episode 5 is a mid-episode that's only slightly better than episode 4. Now, episode 6 is an episode of wasted opportunity. Criston Cole's death is good, but not as good as it could have been. It's really satisfying seeing Cole get his end, but the line, "I'll have no songs about you, Kingmaker. There are thousands dead on your account," would have made the Butcher's Ball that much more into a great moment and really fitting for Criston Cole. The stuff with Alicent's sons, once again, really shines through this season. Aegon, Aemond, and Daron are really, really good, and I like how, for Aegon, you can see him change as the season goes on into becoming a good king. Aegon isn't quite perfect yet, but he is becoming a better man. Then the Alice, Rivers, and Aemond dynamic is great, as Alice is clearly playing Aemond in the same way she played Daemon. The dragon eggs give Aemond hope for the future, and by this point, he's lost Vhagar. And getting on to the youngest Green son, Daron and Ormond meeting Gwaine Hightower again is perfect. The Baratheon assassins is a smart twist, but while it doesn't make a ton of sense, as Rhaenyra pointed out, why should she accept the Baratheons after it's because of Varys that Lucerys got killed? The conversation between Daron and Gwaine is arguably one of the best of the seasons. And we finally get to see more about Daron, and this is what we want. Daron is almost a nothing character and really sad but likable guy who doesn't quite know what it means to be king. Give us more of Daron and Gwaine. Daron isn't stupid and knows Ormond is using him as a puppet. but Gawain Hightower is so much better in the show than in the books. Freddie Fox is perfect for Gawain Hightower and really is shining this season. The episode, once again, however, falls apart with Rhaenyra. And that's not the fault of Emma D'Arcy. And it also falls apart with Alicent. And once again, not at fault of the actors. It's the writers. I don't have an issue with Rhaenyra being overly strict on Alicent Helena, as it's necessary to transform her into Rhaenyra the Cruel. My issue is with that whole nonsense about Alicent being sent to Harrenhal to kill Aemond. Alicent going along with this is just stupid and makes no sense no matter the angle. And yeah, I feel bad for the actresses here because they do a really, really good job. Every actor and actress this season is arguably doing the best the work of the whole show. But the writing is very mixed and inconsistent. For me, though, it's a good episode. Not as good as the first three, but it's not as mid as episodes 4 and 5. Now I'll get on to episode 7, which is a mixed bag like the last one. I love the stuff with Daemon, Rhaena, and Rhaenyra. All are completely right here. Daemon wants the best for Rhaena and Rhaenyra. However, Rhaenyra has a right to be mad since Rhaena got Jacaerys killed. But you really can't blame Rhaena for going for a dragon. Sheepstealer's end is also very sad, and another dragon bites the dust. It also ends the stupid Rhaena Sheepstealer plot, which should have never been a thing. This episode once again does a great job at painting Ormond as the best villain of House of the Dragon. By taking Corlys Velaryon prisoner, who, remind you, who is one of the very few relatable characters left in the show, it further makes you hate Ormond. And you really want, or at least I really wanted Ormond to get his death. Like how Kristen Cole got exactly what he deserved. By the way, Cole's head being shown off like a trophy was gold and extremely funny and so in character for the Winter Wolves in my opinion. And now I'll go into the Alicent Aemond love triangle as it's interesting. The dynamic between them when they all meet is great. Alicent can clearly see that Alice is not good for Aemond, and Alice knows this and knows that Alicent can see right through her plan. And Aemond getting poisoned is really just a plot device to delay Aemond getting Vhagar to season 4 and gives them a chance for Aegon and Aemond to reunite. Now I'll get to the bad before I get to the best part of the episode. The bad is the sex scenes. The Alice and Aemond sex, while it's just Alice playing it with Aemond's mind, it's disgusting. I really hate it. Why is this a thing? Rhaenyra and Mysaria also something that didn't exist and I don't think should exist. Considering this is undone the very next episode, it's like, what was the point? However, the real calling card is Aegon's speech. It's the best part of the episode. It's bold, powerful, and makes you see what you expect from a true king. A speech. And Sunfire burning the Mutant army, while not making a lot of sense, is a scene that's still really, really good. Aegon is once again becoming a true king. Overall, a great episode that with really good elements, but also really bad parts. Now, finally, I'll talk about the season finale. Clearly, Ryan Condal and everyone else who worked on season 3 learned from all the hate that season 2's finale got. Season 3 finale is so much better. And it's essentially, I'll go into 3 parts here, or 4. 1, Rhaenyra becoming mad and finally Rhaenyra the Cruel. 2, the first Battle of Tumbleton. 3, Helena's suicide. And 4, the Aegon and Aemond reunion. I'll get into Rhaenyra the Cruel. Finally, the moment we've been waiting for all season. Rhaenyra killing the High Septon, which is unexpected, but the High Septon is essentially the Pope of the Ice and Fire universe, and killing him is bold, and her speech makes me, and I think a lot of others, realize that she is fully gone and evil. Rhaenyra is not someone to root for anymore. Now, the first Battle of Tumbleton is the best episode of the whole show. I know I said the Battle of the Gullet was. I take that back. This battle is really, really good. It's, in my opinion, Game of Thrones level of good. Not Battle of the Bastards levels, but the Tumbleton is really good in its own right. Ulf sacking Tumbleton with his dragon really shows that nobody wins this war. Technically, it's a Green's victory, but Tumbleton is destroyed, Ormond is dead, Gawain is injured, and Daron is fled with Tessarion. Ormond's death is perfect, 10 out of 10, so deserved. I so enjoyed getting his end, and seeing Roger killing Ormond is perfect, and Ormond gets his end as the main villain of the season. But the first Battle of Tumbleton is one of the most horrifying scenes in Game of Thrones show's history. Certainly the most horrifying part of anything in House of the Dragon, as it's devastating. Everyone loses. Thousands of small folk are dead. No one wins here. Certainly the most devastating part in House of the Dragon. But now, let's go into Helena's suicide. While she dies earlier, I do like the detail that she jumps from the same window that Tommen did in Season 6. Rhaenyra simply closing the doors makes me hate her even more now. And now finally I'll talk about Aegon and Aemond's reunion. It's the funniest reunion of the whole show, really, as Aegon is able to make fun of Aemond, which is so good, rewarding. It's also revealing how far Asia's come. Aegon has become a king, and makes you realize that enough of this sibling on sibling violence. No one is winning this war, and they need to come together to rebuild the realm. And Aegon becomes the best character alive, and I'd argue he deserves the throne now, while Aemond is revealed to be what he's always been, a coward. Overall, a great episode that stands toe-to-toe with episodes 1 and 2. And if this episode is your favorite of the season, I can't blame you. So was House of the Dragon Season 3 good? Yes, it was a good season. Not as good as Season 1, but way better than Season 2. However, House of the Dragon Season 3 shows an underlying problem with this show. Missed opportunities. The decision to move away from the books has been a disaster, really. This season could have been so much better if they had stuck more to the books, and we could have gotten more than just 3 battles in one season. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, one season has been better than all seasons of House of the Dragon. Think of that. It's because of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms sticking to the books directly. But it's also damning considering House of the Dragon should be better. It's more like Game of Thrones than A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is, but on paper, but A Night of the Seven Kingdoms has been more like Game of Thrones because of how connected the two really feel. That does it for me, and let me know what you thought of House of the Dragon Season 3. Next time I'll finally finish the Robert's Rebellion miniseries. But until then, bye!